Welcome to the Dr. Mama Says podcast, where you will hear a variety of timeless tips on parenting and healthcare. Thank you so much for joining today, and now it's time to get on with the show.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Burton, the host and creator of the Dr. Mama Says podcast. Thanks so much for coming back and joining today. All right, so now I want to take a little break from the healthcare conversations that I've been having to talk a little bit more about parenting. Been there, done that, still doing it. Parenting is forever. It just changes over time, or at least it should change over time. First, let me just say there's 1,000,001 different parenting techniques. There are good and bad parts to all of them. My advice has always been, just do you and keep moving forward. But today I want to suggest that it might be important for you to take some time and actually evaluate your results. No one knows what is working best for you and your child except you. And I am here to tell you that one technique known as 1-2-3 parenting may have a role for many, many toddlers. But at some point, it really needs to end. 1-2-3 parenting was not a thing when I was a child. If we acted up, boom, immediate consequences, period, the end. Yep, the good old days, complete with spanking. Yeah, I know spanking is taboo now, but it is what it is. That was parenting in the 60s, and that was my reality. But then in the 90s, when my kids were young, the timeout was all the rage. And although I had never personally experienced it, remember, I was that spanked kid, I was up to try the timeouts with my own kids. Worked for many parents, so thought I would try it out on mine. Did it work on my kids? Not a chance. My daughter started being put in timeout in preschool. She then learned that when she did something wrong, some unacceptable behavior, it meant that she had to sit in a chair in a corner for some period of time. So when exactly did I know that timeout was absolutely not working for her? When she put her chair in the corner, proceeded to do whatever behavior she wanted that she knew was wrong, then she ran over to her chair, looked up at me smiling and announced, "I'm in timeout." What? Just no. That was the end of that. No more timeout in our house. I feel this can be true for a lot of parenting techniques. Although I never used the 1-2-3 parenting method, many other parents did. I was too busy just trying to figure out how to raise two completely different girls, and the internet was not readily available. So I was just making it up as I went. But now, sitting on the other side of the fence, I can see the parents who need to acknowledge that the 1-2-3 parenting is no longer working for their child. First of all, did you know that there is actually a recommended technique for 1-2-3 parenting? I didn't. I just saw parents stop whatever they were doing, bend over their child, and start counting while holding up fingers. Sometimes the counting went slowly, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes they would repeat 1 or 2 a couple times, so really it could turn into 6 or 7 seconds. I've seen lots of 1-2-3 parenting techniques, but whatever it was that parents were doing, the kids understood how the counting was going to be. Well, the actual technique was popularized by a psychologist who coined the phrase 1-2-3 magic parenting. But many parents just use the counting method in their own way, which might be why I saw some of the issues that I did. Perhaps they were missing just a little bit of that magic that was initially discussed. The 1-2-3 parenting books were published in 1995, but that was before the internet was readily available. So parents had to rely on word of mouth or a trip to the library. So a lot of this information didn't get spread very fast. But now the books have made a huge comeback with easy online access to everything. Although I had never read any of these books, one mommy blogger wrote a pretty good summary about some of the problems that can be associated with 1-2-3 parenting, especially if it's used long term. And I added a link in the show notes if you want to check that out. So what kind of issues have I personally witnessed that makes me believe that this technique doesn't particularly work for everybody? What do I see that makes me think that it's not exactly effective? Well, just recently in my office, I saw a child, maybe about 10 years old, ignoring mom, who just kept saying to put the phone down. The child was looking down at the phone, laughing and obviously enjoying whatever phone game he was playing. and Mom proceeded to raise her voice, lean toward the child, and hold up the fingers while counting 1, 2, 3. She was getting really angry, but only after 3 did the child look up and put the phone down. So now, if you've been doing this for 10 years, at what age do you think that child is going to learn to do what you say the first time or rise to your expectations? Or have they simply learned that they get to do whatever they want for longer periods of time? Does your child now expect teachers and other adults to also give them extra grace periods before following their rules or their instructions? Let me share another example about my daughter. Yes, my girls just love it when I share some of their childhood stories. But anyway, my daughter had a teacher who used some similar re-instruction method, and she gave repeated reminders on a daily basis before assignments were due. I mean, who could forget? When was it going to be my daughter's responsibility? When would my child learn to be self-sufficient? Well, as it turns out, not until her next teacher gave her an assignment without these frequent reminders. The due date came and went, and my child was not ready, and she earned a bad grade, which promptly earned some kind of response from me because I'm not tolerating that. Just saying, I consider school to be a child's job, and I take it seriously. So listening to the teacher, following directions, that's all a part of their job. My daughter said it wasn't fair because the teacher didn't give her reminders, and that was the day that she learned to be accountable for herself. It's not anyone else's job to constantly remind her and give her more time to comply. This is growing up and learning responsibility. Sometimes you have to fail before you can succeed. As an employer, I have hired many young adults who needed these same reminders. Who has time for that? They expected warnings and reminders daily. I mean, I'm not talking about a new employee who needs training. I'm talking about employees who think 1, 2, 3 parenting extends to everyone in their lives. Nope, clearly didn't work out well for them. Parents don't want to raise kids who need others to be responsible for their actions. So permanent 1, 2, 3 parenting should not be a thing. I don't think parents need to be giving 3-second warnings to correct behavior from toddler to teens. What is your cutoff? Everyone should have a different timetable, but there should be one. If it's not working or helping your child learn to be responsive to follow directions, perhaps another technique should be tried. Isn't the ultimate purpose to teach kids to listen the first time, not to just let them laugh and think, wee, she's not serious yet? Yeah, that's not what I'm thinking. When I tell you the first time, trust me, I'm serious right then. No one else is going to be counting for your child. They expect results. They expect your child to listen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm definitely not mom shaming or suggesting that there's a best method for parenting. Should-free parenting is a method that one of my physician colleagues discusses when parents are overwhelmed with what they should or should not do. She shares some of this in her column in Psychology Today and as well as in a TED Talk. I added some of those links in the show notes as well. I'm saying it's great to go ahead and do whatever you feel is best for you and your family, but be honest with yourself. Is it working? No matter what anyone else says, you must be honest. If it's not working, then make a change. It's not a mistake. It's parenting. Parenting is an active sport, and we must be able to respond to whatever happens. The best laid plans may not work, so simply change the plan. Do not stick with a plan just because it sounds good on paper or it works for others. This is not good for you or your child. So here's the tip that answers the question that's in the title of this episode. How do you avoid the permanent 1, 2, 3 parenting? By setting your own schedule to stop it. Plain and simple. Sometimes when you get wrapped up in parenting, you do what you do, and if it seems to be working, you stick with it. But how do you know it's working? You have to stop and ask, is it working? If you want to change something, you want to think, when do I want to change it? Is there a specific age? Is there some other timeline? If you're currently using the 1, 2, 3 parenting method, do you have an end game? Kids are smart and very teachable. The question is, when are you going to teach them that you have different expectations? You can go ahead and stop cold turkey, or you can wean from the 1, 2, 3 parenting to 1, 2 parenting. That'll mix things up a little bit. Kids looking around waiting for that 3 and it doesn't come. That helps to train them. Or you can substitute some other methods. But please, let's all agree, permanent 1, 2, 3 parenting should not be a thing. Well, alrighty then. This looks like a good place to stop. For now, I gotta go. Hope you come back and check out another episode soon.
I truly want to thank you for spending your time listening to Dr. Mama Says, because without you, there would be no podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you go to listen to your podcast and consider leaving a 5-star rating. This will help gain the support needed to continue bringing new and exciting content. To review information presented in any episode, a summary of the show can always be found online at drmamasays.com. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hope you come back and listen again soon.